The House will come to order. Please join Representative Ortiz in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Members, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gregorio, please call the roll.
Representative Amabile. Bacon. Baisley. Representative Baisley. Representative Baisley is excused. Benavidez. Representative Benavidez. Burnett. Byrd. Bockenfeld. Bradfield. Caraveo. Carver. Catlin. Cutter. Doherty. Duran. Escar. Exum. Froelich. Geithner. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Gray. Representative Gray. Hanks. Herod. Representative Herod. Representative Herod is excused. Holtorf. Hooten. Jackson.
Here.
Judah. Kennedy.
Okay.
Representative Kennedy. Representative Kennedy is excused. Kipp. Larson. Montine. Luck. Lynch. McCluskey. Representative McCluskey. Representative McCluskey is excused. McCormick. McKean. Representative McKean. Representative McKean is excused. McLaughlin.
Morning.
Michelson Janae. Mullica. Neville. Ortiz. Pelton. Pico. Ransom. Rich. Ricks. Representative Ricks. Representative Ricks is excused. Roberts. Sandridge. Sirota. Snyder. Soper. Representative Soper. Representative Soper is excused. Sullivan. Tipper. Titone. Valdez A. Valdez D. Van Bever. Representative Van Bever is excused. Van Winkle. Weissman. Will. Williams. Woodrow. Woog. Young. And Mr. Speaker.
With 58 present, 5 excused, and 1 vacant, 59 present. We have a quorum. Representative Ortiz.
Mr. Speaker and members, I move the Journal of Monday, April 27, 2021 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Representative Ortiz. Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. That wasn't actually that good. The ayes have it. The motion is approved. Announcements and introductions. Representative Michelson Janae and Representative A. Valdez.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we have a very important announcement to make this morning. And we'd like your attention, and actually we'd like your attention to be turned to the back of the room. There seems to be a gentleman who is appropriating Representative Valdez's seat. And it is our pleasure to welcome members of the Tattered Cover Bookstore staff to the floor this morning, especially our very special friend, Charlie. Charlie is based on a real-life Tattered Cover customer, Charlie's Sugars, who posed for his niece as part of an art development project on the 16th Street Mall in 1988. To save him from the elements, Charlie moved to Mr. Sugart's favorite store, the Tattered Cover, in 1990. And according to former owner Joyce Mescas, the statue immediately became one of the family. For more than 3 decades, Charlie has celebrated momentous occasions in the store's history: the expansion to Lower Downtown in '94, the move from Cherry Creek to Colfax in 2006, and now the store's acquisition by Bended Page LLC in December.
Representative A. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So for those of you who haven't had an opportunity to go to the Tattered Cover, I've been going there my entire life. Believe it or not, there was a time when you couldn't just Google everything, and Mom would take me down to Cherry Creek, and we would enjoy the creaky stairs at the Tattered Cover as we looked for things that were of interest to us. But really, the Tattered Cover is an institution here in Denver, a great place to just go hang out and find all sorts of books. And today we're celebrating the fact that they're moving from one part of my district to another, a new area called McGregor Square. So everybody, please be sure to come out and check out the new Tattered Cover and see Charlie there, where we have been seeing him since way back in 1988 when I was just a young one. So thank you, everybody, for indulging us today and letting us pay some homage to the Tattered Cover, which is really a great institution again here in the city of Denver.
Thanks to both of you. Representative Froelich.
Hi there. Is it appropriate to do a tribute? Okay to do a tribute?
Representative Froelich has a tribute. Everyone, please give their attention to the well. Representative Froelich.
Thank you all. We have a tribute today, and Mr. Gregorio, if you could read it, please.
State of Colorado, the House of Representatives convened in the 73rd General Assembly hereby extends sincere commendations to Ryan Silva. Ryan Silva, having held the position of principal at Cherry Creek High School for 12 years, has been named the 2021 Colorado Principal of the Year. Silva has strived to make his high school the largest in the state, one that fosters unity and innovation. To do this, he has introduced regular student perception surveys, leadership advisory boards for students to provide their voice in school affairs, and programs to include differently abled students in diverse and creative ways. The members of the Colorado House of Representatives are proud to pay tribute to Mr. Silva for his leadership and contributions to education and inclusivity in our public schools. On request of Representative Meg Froelich, given this 27th day of April, 2021, State Capitol, Denver.
Representative Froelich.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you.
Today, members, we are so lucky to be joined by our Principal of the Year. Ryan Silva is the principal of Cherry Creek High School, which is, of course, one of the premier high schools in our state. And 2 years ago, my House district also had a Principal of the Year from Englewood Schools. And I imagine that being the principal of Cherry Creek High School with its premier status has its own unique challenges. And in speaking to my friends who are parents in Cherry Creek High School, themes emerged about Mr. Silva that really reinforce what an incredible individual and person he is, in addition to being Principal of the Year. He attended Cherry Creek schools, met his now wife at Horizon Middle School. They have been sweethearts since they both attended Smoky Hill High School. He's a CU buff, so he's Colorado through and through. And speaking to parents, what came through over and over again is Mr. Silva's dedication to the students. And I think we can all imagine how challenging it is to deal with the parents of Cherry Creek High School. And so I really appreciate Mr. Silva's emphasis on students and student empowerment and really listening to students. And he is joining us today with his wife, Kathy, his children, let's see, Sophia and Mateo, his mother. He was raised by a single parent, so thank you, Luca, and Luca Silva, and his stepdad and in-laws, parents. So they have a nice crowd, and if you could welcome and congratulate Mr. Silva, Principal of the Year.
Mr. Silva, thank you for your service, and thanks to you and your family for being in the People's House today. Further announcements and introductions. Representative Wantine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, members. The Health and Insurance Committee meets today upon adjournment, and we will be finishing up our work on House Bill 1232. We're meeting in room 112. It should be super interesting. Hope to see you there.
Representative Weissman.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. Judiciary Committee members, we are meeting today in our usual room 107 at 1:30. Light calendar today. We have two bills, Senate Bill 64 and Senate Bill 143. We'll make up for that with a heavier calendar tomorrow. Please watch your email for the distribution of amendments from nonpartisan staff for bills that we will be considering tomorrow. Those should come around in the next couple of hours and may be considered in connection with bills we will hear tomorrow. Thanks.
Representative Exum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Transportation and Local Government Committee, we have a slight change. We will not meet upon adjournment. We are moving House Bill 1267 to the afternoon, so we'll have two bills this afternoon. House Bill 1267 and also House Bill 1254 by Representative Wantine and Representative A. Valdez, respectively. And Representative Larson is on both of those bills. So we'll see you this afternoon, LSBA.
Great. I have two announcements. One, Representative Larson will replace Representative Van Winkle on transportation and local government for today only. Representative Judah and Representative Judah will replace Representative Jackson, and Representative Kipp will replace Representative Titone on Health Insurance Committee today only, and Representative A. Valdez will fill the vacancy on Transportation and Local Government Committee for today only. Okay. Any further announcements or introductions? Seeing none, the next order of business is third reading of bills. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title to House Bill 1259.
House Bill 1259 by Representative Bake and also Senators Fields and Sonnenberg concerning the process for funding local education providers for extended learning opportunities to address disrupted learning.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1259 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us, Representative Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask permission to offer a third reading amendment.
Okay. Representative Bacon, do you want to explain a little bit about what the amendment is?
Yes, thank you. It's a technical amendment to change a date from July to January to align to SMART Act hearings.
Great. The question before us is to grant permission to offer a technical third reading amendment on House Bill 1259. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members, please proceed to vote. Those participating online, Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Amable, Caraveo, and Soper. Please close the machine. With 56 aye votes, 7 no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy, permission to offer a third reading amendment is approved. Representative Bacon.
Yes, thank you. I move Amendment L3 and ask that it be displayed.
That has been properly moved and displayed. Is there further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. No further discussion. Representative Bacon.
Yes, thank you. Again, the technical change here, I ask for an aye vote.
Wonderful. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of L003 to House Bill 1259. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Gray, Luck, Ransom, Woog. Please close the machine. With 53 aye votes, 10 no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy, L003 is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the pass. I move to. Wow. Mr. Speaker, I move House Bill 1259 on third reading, final passage as amended.
The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1259 on third reading and final passage as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 63 aye votes, no no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy, House Bill 1259 is adopted as amended. Co-sponsors. Representative Jackson, Representative McLaughlin, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Bill 1256.
House Bill 1256 by Representative Lontine, also Senator Winter, concerning the promulgation of rules by the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing as it relates to entities that deliver services predominantly through telemedicine.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1256 on third reading, final passage.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't normally come down on third. That's not true. I like coming down on third from time to time. I was a no vote in committee, and just wanted to let the chamber know I'm going to be a yes vote. I had a long and healthy conversation with HICPUF about the rulemaking. Both of us are on the same agreement that we need to expand telemedicine and telehealth, but we also need to do so in a respectful manner that isn't bringing in out-of-state or out-of-country practitioners to where your local providers start losing their practice, and that it's balanced to where telemedicine really is a tool to improve the lives of Coloradans, but it's not something where it's going to be overutilized to the detriment of the health of Coloradans. On that same note, I think that we also ought to watch very carefully our agencies and our departments to make sure that their rulemaking is not just a blank check to do whatever they want to, but that we pay careful attention and that we tell HICPUF that we're watching. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Representative Soper. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1256? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1256 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 56 aye votes, 7 no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy, House Bill 1256 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Jackson, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of the House Bill 1247.
House Bill 1247 by Representatives Jackson and McKean, also Senator Danielson, concerning allowing the Department of Public Health and Environment to award a percentage of the total value of an annual contract to a grantee of a grant program of the department upon the execution or renewal of the annual contract.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1247 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1247 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Caraveo, Holtorf, McKean, Snyder. Please close the machine. With 63 aye votes, no no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy, House Bill 1247 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of the Senate Bill 152.
Senate Bill 152 by Senators Lee and Gardner, also Representatives Harrod and Soper, concerning implementation of the Committee on Legal Services recommendations in connection with legislative review of state agencies' rules.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 152 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 152 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. We are on third reading. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Okay. All right, members. Remember, we're on third reading. We are on third reading. Please close the machine. With 60 aye votes, 3 no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy, Senate Bill 152 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of the Senate Bill 6.
Senate Bill 6 by Senator Rodriguez, also Representatives Soper and Titone, concerning the conversion of human remains to basic elements within a container using an accelerated process and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understood I missed a pretty punny presentation on second readings, but either way, I move Senate Bill 6 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 6 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Sullivan and Van Winkle. Please close the machine. 45 aye votes, 18 no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy, Senate Bill 6 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative McLaughlin, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 13.
Senate Bill 13 by Senator Fields, also Representatives Bacon and Froelich, concerning measures to address student learning loss occurring as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 13 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 13 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 42 aye votes, 21 no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy, Senate Bill 13 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Jackson, co-sponsor. Representative McLaughlin, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of the House Bill 1221.
House Bill 1221 by Representatives Cutter and Young, also Senator Quorum, concerning measures to prevent bullying in public schools.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1221 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1221 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. 57 aye votes, 6 no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy. House Bill 1221 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative McLaughlin, Jackson, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of the House Bill 1149.
House Bill 1149 by Representatives Jackson and Titone, also Senator Story, concerning supporting an energy sector career pathway for Colorado and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of 1149 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1149 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 23 no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy, House Bill 1149 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative McLaughlin, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Bill 1071.
House Bill 1071 by Representative Kennedy, also Senators Fenberg and Winter, concerning the use of ranked choice voting in nonpartisan elections and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the passage of House Bill 1071 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1071 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. 40 aye votes, 23 no votes, 1 excuse, and 1 vacancy. House Bill 1071 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. The next order of business is General Order, second reading of bills. Representative Tipper. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Tipper will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the majority leader, and the quote rule is relaxed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1237 until tomorrow.
Hearing no objection, House Bill 1237 will be laid over. All right. Okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Bill 1027.
House Bill 1027 by Representatives Larson and Roberts, also Senators Bridges and Priola, concerning the authorization for certain alcohol license holders to offer alcohol beverages for consumption off the licensed premises.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1027, the Appropriations Committee report, and the House Business Affairs and Labor Committee report.
To the Appropriations report.
In the Appropriations Committee, they added an appropriation. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. To the Business Affairs and Labor report. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In House Business Affairs and Labor, we added a few amendments to reflect some stakeholding that we did with the alcohol and liquor industry as a whole. And we also added an amendment that means this bill will expire in 5 years. So with that, I'd ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on the Business Affairs and Labor report? Okay, seeing none, question for us is the adoption of the Business Affairs and Labor report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The report passes. Okay, back to the bill. Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, members, I'm going to talk a little bit about the bill. We do have a second reading amendment that should have been distributed to you all a few days ago because it is in excess of 1 page. But first, we'll talk about the bill, just to do a little reminder. So this bill is the bill to continue the takeout and delivery of alcohol for restaurants. It is familiar to many of you because we did pass this last year on a one-year basis. In that interceding year, we have found that this has been truly a lifeline for many of our restaurants, which I know each of our districts has several restaurants. And it has allowed them not only to continue operations, continue to hang on in many cases, but it's allowed them to keep many of the staff members who are the most susceptible in this COVID downturn on the payroll. It's allowed them to keep their doors open and keep employees working and getting paid through all of this. Like I said, this has been quite the stakeholder process. We do have an amendment that we are going to add that I guess we're going to move. I'd like to move Amendment L006, and it's more than one page.
Thank you, Representative. Amendment L006 has been moved, and I believe it's all on your desk. It's a goldish colored amendment, multiple pages. Why don't you tell us about the amendment?
Yep. So Amendment L06 was done in conjunction with the governor's office, and it essentially codifies a lot of the executive order rules around outdoor dining. So these are the local variances that are allowing restaurants to, for instance, set up tables on sidewalks. That's allowing Larimer Square, if you've been down to Larimer recently, to be shut off to traffic and have outside seating. So it codifies a lot of those rules. Representative Snyder, if you're paying attention here, because I know this is a particular sticking point for you, it does not supersede local authority to get into these matters. So if a restaurant wants to do these things, they still have to go through all proper local and state channels, but it simply allows them to continue doing that. And the important thing to remember with this amendment is that it is codifying the existing executive orders. So this is effectively the policy on the ground since last year. This is just codifying it past whenever the executive orders do expire. And I would ask for a yes vote.
Any further discussion? No? All right. Seeing none, the question for us is the adoption of Amendment L006. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Back to the bill, Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Representative Larson for your work on this bill. Members, this is a bill that is important to our economic recovery, and it's important to all of our local restaurants. During the pandemic last year, when this executive order was first put in place, over 90% of restaurants were able to take advantage of this and get excess revenue from this new rule change. What this bill will do is codify this for 5 more years so that these restaurants can have access to this additional revenue. Even once we get past the public health order, we know it's going to take many years for our restaurants to recover. And this excess revenue could be the difference between some of those staying open or not. And it's good for our local economies. Our restaurants like this. It's something that has come out of COVID that's working well. I think we should continue it for 5 more years, and I'd ask for an aye vote.
Representative Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I encourage a yes vote on this too. You know, you might be going to your favorite bagel place and happen to think that you're in the mood for a bagel and cream cheese, but while you're there, you might decide that, hey, you know, why not grab a beer while you're there and go ahead and drink that, and, you know, you help out your local restaurant. So, good bill, vote yes.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1027? Seeing none, the question for us is the adoption of House Bill 1027. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1027 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of House Bill 1142.
House Bill 1142 by Representative Bacon, also Senator Gonzalez, concerning measures related to eyewitness identification techniques and in connection therewith requiring reporting data related to eyewitness techniques and regulating the use of show-up identifications.
Representative Bacon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
An honor to serve with you.
Thank you. I move House Bill 1142 and the committee reports.
To the Judiciary Report.
Judiciary, do we go to appropriations? Thank you. Okay, in the Judiciary Committee, we worked really hard on this bill, but we brought a strike below. And so the committee report has the crux of the bill. I'd also like to bring some amendments to that committee report as well. Okay. All right, sorry.
Representative Bacon.
Thank you. I'd like to move L2 to the Judiciary Committee report and have it displayed.
Thank you, Representative Bacon. L2 to the Judiciary Report has been moved and is properly displayed. Please tell us about the amendment.
Okay. Members, I realize I haven't had a chance to talk further about what the purpose of this bill is, and while I may have your attention, I do want to point out that the amendments that I'm going to bring to the committee report were really done in earnest at the request and my commitment to work with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, as well as my colleagues on my side of the aisle. We also spent a lot of time working with law enforcement, particularly the Colorado Associations of the Chiefs of Police. And I want to say thank you to everyone who gave us feedback, who gave us the time. With the amendments I'm going to bring to you, I believe we are in a spot where this bill will not be opposed by law enforcement. So thank you. So the First Amendment, as you can see here, addresses in a situation in which show-ups are being conducted, we wanted to be able to have the law enforcement officer's perception to be able to lead that space. And so the First Amendment is to address law enforcement's perception to the situation. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Sandridge on Amendment L002.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to help maybe everybody out that may not know, can you define what show-ups mean?
Sure.
Thank you.
Representative
Sorry.
Bacon.
Thank you. I'm a little out of order. So the crux of House Bill 1142 is to address procedures around a practice called show-up identification, where it's an eyewitness procedure where in the moment, perhaps of a crime, law enforcement will typically look for people in the area to bring in front of witnesses to ask them if they may be the perpetrator. And so ultimately, we believe that the procedure tends to be unreliable because of the circumstances. So this procedure is used by law enforcement primarily where a lone individual is presented in person to an eyewitness to determine if that individual committed the crime. And so ultimately, this bill is being brought forward to create better procedures to strengthen that identification. Because unfortunately, at this point, it is one of the most unreliable of all the identifications. And just as a quick note and a fact, we have seen from the Innocence Project that 70% of the exonerations through DNA evidence were for cases where the original conviction was based on an eyewitness misidentification. And so again, the purpose of this bill is to create stronger regulations, if not practices, that have been co-created to ensure a proper carriage of justice.
Any further discussion on Amendment L002? Seeing none, question for us is the adoption of L002 to the Judiciary Report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Representative Bacon, the next amendment to the Judiciary Report. Go ahead.
I'd like to move L3 and have it displayed.
Thank you. L3 has been moved, and we're getting it displayed. In the meantime, tell us about the amendment.
Okay, so this amendment addresses a section in the bill around the procedures of conducting a show-up identification in an area that's well lit. In working with law enforcement, we were able to clarify that you don't necessarily need to be in an area where there's like a lot of light or daylight, nor do we want to see the practice where we put a spotlight on a suspect, because that would be suggestive. And so we were able to work with law enforcement to clarify that well-lit can be achieved with any lighting that's available to the peace officer, including spotlights, headlights, and whatnot, so that they can conduct a show-up identification. I urge an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Amendment L003 to the committee report? Seeing none, question 4 says the adoption of Amendment L003 to the committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. L003 to the report is passed. Representative Bacon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move L4 and ask that it be displayed.
Thank you, Representative. Amendment L004 has been moved and is displayed. Please tell us about the amendment.
Thank you. So this amendment addresses the area around conducting a show-up identification with how one might be able to capture that. We ask that a photograph be taken of the alleged suspect, along with some information turned in around that identification. So this amendment qualifies a body-worn camera can be used to capture that photograph, and that we aligned that use to the date as outlined in Senate Bill 217. So we also, that's where you see January 1st, 2023, using a body-worn camera. That is the tool that a peace officer may use to record the incident.
Representative Sandridge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And since this is the first time I've seen this, is there any stipulation for the photograph not to be altered at all after the picture is taken? Thank you.
Representative Sandridge, I actually couldn't understand you. I don't know if you could repeat that.
Let me just pull this down. Is there any, since this is the first time I've seen this, is there any stipulation in this to address that or say that the picture should not be altered at all after the picture is taken? Thank you.
Representative Bacon.
I'm going to just kind of lean into kind of evidentiary type of custom and practice that is not to be altered, but the basis of allowing the body-worn camera is that the whole incident can be captured in totality and then turned in afterwards.
Any further discussion on Amendment L004? Seeing none, question 4 says the adoption of L004 to the committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. L004 is adopted. Any further amendments on the committee report? Representative Bacon.
Do you want to see one? Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L5 and ask that it be displayed.
Thank you, Representative Bacon. L005 has been moved and is displayed. Tell us about the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. L5, so this was the crux of the bill in regards to informing a witness, or what we would call an admonition, of what they were about to do when identifying someone in a show-up identification. Originally, the strike below, if you will, had a list of 12 elements that must have been prescribed to or completed strictly. And what we heard from law enforcement was that they asked for a little bit of wiggle room to be able to provide that admonition. So rather than list 12 particular things that needed to be said, we created the baseline principles and understanding that should be conveyed to the witness as they are going to complete the identification. And so you can see here A through F is what we were looking for here, instead of kind of like 1 through 12. So I ask for an aye vote on Amendment L5.
Any further discussion on Amendment L5? Seeing none, the question for us is the adoption of Amendment L005 to the committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment to the report passes. Representative Gonzalez-Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I ask that we go into a brief recess.
The committee will stand in brief recess. Okay, the committee will come back to order. So we've passed several amendments to the committee report. I believe we are back to the committee report. Representative Bacon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, I'm going to ask that the committee report be accepted as amended.
Thank you. The question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The committee report is adopted. Representative Bacon, back to the bill, 1142.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to all of my colleagues. You know, if I do have your attention at all, I would like to go back to say two things. I am grateful to not only my colleagues on judiciary, but those here, but also to our stakeholders, including law enforcement, and particularly from my own community in Denver. But most importantly, I want to thank Together Colorado. They are an organization that consists of over 200 faith communities, and many of you may have gotten emails from them. If you live anywhere in this state, you may have gotten emails because they are a coalition of neighbors who asked to change this practice. I will say for any of you who are parents, I hope that you have never known the fear of not knowing where your child is. And I bring this on behalf of my constituent and my neighbor, Sharon Battle, who is an Air Force veteran, who did not know where her son was one night, only a week out of graduation. And one of the things she never thought would be true was that her son would be in custody of police. Her son, Charles, coming home from work, got off of a bus, and a police officer picked him up, put him in handcuffs, and put him in the back of a squad car and said, "You fit a description." Ultimately, though, he did not, but he spent 3 nights in jail. 2 of those days went by before he could call his parents to let them know where he was. Unfortunately, we have a system, too, that once you are arrested, that doesn't go away. And after a 6-month fight, after finding money that could equal the amount of a full mortgage, the Battle family was able to get their son, Charles, out of custody. At the end of the day, we were able to work on this bill because our neighbors, in a time where we deserve, and in a time where we need to learn to trust each other, we're able to work deeply and hand in hand with law enforcement to say this practice is not only unreliable, but it is harmful, and that we have an opportunity to do something about it. I will repeat this fact. For decades, the data has consistently shown for the Innocence Project that as many as 70% of their exonerations through DNA evidence were for cases where the original conviction was based on eyewitness misidentification. And that's just not 70% of people who are going free. That is 70% of those crimes where the perpetrator is still out there, because this type of identification has been so unreliable. And so in talking to even our victims' rights organizations, everyone had an interest in strengthening this practice. 5 years ago, we passed a Senate bill to look into best practice. Only a few jurisdictions adopted those practices, including Loveland, Boulder, Denver, Westminster, and so forth. And now we are at a place in building off of those best practices identified by district attorneys, the Innocence Project, as well as statute passed in other states. We present to you House Bill 1142. This will cost us nothing. We were able to get the fiscal note down to 0. And it requires that peace officers train in how to do show-up identification, that we track the data on when show-ups are done, including who was identified and the outcomes, and that during the practice of conducting a show up, that there are a few steps that must be taken to ensure that the show up is done well, because at the end of the day, the challenge with this type of identification, when you pull someone up quickly and pull them into a squad car in handcuffs and have them perhaps walk and talk in a certain way, it is so suggestive that it might change the actual reality of who committed the crime. And so again, the practices we are bringing forward are to limit the suggestiveness, not to ban this practice, but to ensure that the proper carriage of justice takes place. And so again, I want to say thank you to everyone who has worked on this. This is good practice. This is a law that we can all commit to on behalf of all of our neighbors. And I look forward to gaining some support, and I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Rep. Bacon, for bringing this bill. You know, the data is clear that this is the show-up process has, the data has shown, a certain amount of unreliability. And when we have evidence of that, then we need to tighten up those procedures. And so I want to further commend Representative Bacon, who has worked diligently in discussion with law enforcement groups, the Sheriff's Association, the police chiefs, and others to work on what this revised process should be. I was a no in committee because there were a number of outstanding areas of disagreement that I thought were substantive and important that still needed to be worked out. We still need a show-up process that works. And in thinking through any new process, from many perspectives, you're trying to anticipate, is this going to work? And so many of these amendments, which again I support, make that show-up process better. I believe there are just a remaining outstanding issue, but an important issue that still needs to be addressed, that discussions will continue. And so while I am not yet in a position to say that I support the bill, I am hopeful that when we get to thirds, that will be the case. So again, I commend Representative Bacon for her fine work on this bill.
Any further discussion on 1142? Seeing none, question for us is the adoption of House Bill 1142. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1142 is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the committee rise and report.
Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
House will come to order. Mr. Wait, let me gavel that. Mr. Gregorio, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it is under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reader thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1027 as amended. House Bill 1142 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1237 laid over until 4/28/2021 and retaining their place on the calendar.
Representative Tipper. You have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. The question before us is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Those participating remotely, Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Representative Caraveo is excused. With 30, please close machine. With 39 aye votes, 23 no votes, 2 excused, and 1 vacancy, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Majority Leader Esker, I think that brings us to announcements and introduction. No, it does not quite. I'll just lay over the balance. Lay over the balance. Majority Leader Esker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar until tomorrow, April 28th.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over one day till Wednesday, April 28th. Majority Leader Esker.
Members, I don't know if these aren't as visible because they're in the back of the room this year, but our lock boxes are pretty empty. Tomorrow, if you would like to wear jeans, wear denim on the floor of the House, please bring $5 and put these in the boxes, which are located by our very wonderful sergeants in the back of the room. Make sure that you pay your $5. Rep McLaughlin, I want to thank you for Venmoing me your $5. I've already got it. I'll put it in the box today with my own. But tomorrow we will be wearing denim to take a stand against sexual assault and sexual violence. So if you will, please, I'll have these in the back of the room again. Make sure your money's in and wear denim tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Appropriations Committee, we will meet tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. If you have a bill in front of Appropriations and you would like to win the Joke of the Morning Award and take that title from Representative Titone, I suggest you come prepared. See you guys tomorrow morning.
Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I just want to announce I will be excused tomorrow with the permission of the Majority Leader.
So approved. Representative Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services Committee, we're not meeting today. I'm sorry. I know you're going to miss me, but we'll get together and have fun on Friday.
Thank you, Representative Michelson Janae. Further announcements and introductions? Seeing none. Madam Majority Leader or Assistant Majority Leader?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until later today.